Hello there, fans of APIs. Thank you all for attending the Aloft API demo this morning. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending upon where in the world you are. We are so happy you took some time out of your day to see what we've been working so hard on. So my name is Joshua Ziering. I'm the co-founder and CTO of Aloft, and we're super excited to have you all here. I want to talk just first a little bit about what we're doing with an API and why it's so important to the drone industry. And then I'm going to go through something that would be called, at best, inadvisable. And I'll be doing a demo in production, which if you do any sort of computer programmings or any of the computer hackings, you know that that is just the worst idea. So looking forward to having to eat some crow this morning if things don't go our way. All right, great. Let's start from the top. Why are we building an API? And I think it's one of the most important things that we can do in the drone industry. All too often, when I look at what folks are building, I see more and more walled gardens. I see places where data goes to die because people are being greedy with the data. They simply want to have all of it, and we're the only solution, and this is the only way that you're going to be able to get this data. Unfortunately, that doesn't work. And I like to say that history does not repeat itself, but it certainly does rhyme. We've learned this lesson over and over and over again in aviation. When we think about web standards, we've learned this lesson over and over and over again, that interoperability really is a competitive advantage. It is not a disadvantage. Just imagine if your favorite airline could only fly over certain cities or states. That would be a huge problem. Just imagine if you had different airports for every single different airline. So you would have to go to Omaha, do a changeover to get on a Southwest airplane that could fly to Arizona when you just wanted to fly from New Mexico to Arizona. That would be pretty inefficient, and that would be pretty hindering of the ecosystem at large, wouldn't you think? Well, I do think, and that is what we see happening in the drone industry. On top of that, at Aloft, we have a commitment to open source and open data, as well as open standards. This is really going to release and take the top off the next generation of aviation startups. This is really going to enable all of the different stakeholders that are involved in aviation to play together. When you think about all of the different stakeholders that occupy the national airspace, be it general aviation, commercial aircraft, commercial helicopters, recreational drone pilots, commercial drone pilots, just to name a few, they all really need to be sharing information so that they have a common operating picture so they can operate safely and compliantly. This is something that requires people to work together and companies to work together. So, in the past, we've tried to work with various other USSs and we've tried doing data sharing, and ultimately it was just a legal nightmare that was difficult to overcome. So we've decided that there's a better way to do this, a better way to skin the apple, or skin the cat, as it were. So we've started working on APIs, and the APIs are the very first version of what we think to be the most comprehensive UTM solution in the United States. This is an important differentiator because now it's not about you have to use the Aloft app, you have to use this solution. No, now you can consume the data and display it in any medium that you choose. This is a fundamental break from the way that we've been doing things in the drone industry. We think it's an important moment to say, hey, the data is going to travel where it needs to go. We want to help it get there. So with that, today we are announcing the Aloft API. That would have been a lot more dramatic had I shared my screen at the appropriate time. All right, great. Awesome. So this is the Aloft API. You can sign up for it. It's air.aloft.ai/airspace-API. There is no fee to sign up. It is pay as you go. This means that whether your company has just been started in the garage a week ago, or you're an incumbent player that's looking for a great data source that's scalable and available, we're here to help. This is made for the enterprise that flies. So whether you're doing drone delivery, whether you're doing, you're an OEM, or you're looking to do inspections and you want to know if your inspection sites are good to go for that day, this is useful in all of these different different contexts. In addition, this is going to be the way that we're offering access to Before You Fly for third parties. So for example, if you wanted to let people know that you're going to be doing a drone delivery, you wanted a little example of your logo flying to its location, you could do that with the future API endpoints that we're building. This is going to create the largest audience and stakeholders, or the largest audience of drone stakeholders in the world. It's going to be super exciting, and again, easy to integrate, easy to collaborate. We're looking to leverage all of the viewership and collaboration we've already been working on, including our collaboration with the FAA on Before You Fly, to make it easy for companies, OEMs, stakeholders to consume this data, but also to push data up into this. And if you're interested in pushing data into Before You Fly, feel free to send us a note afterwards. Josh@aloft.ai is my email address. So with that, I'd like to embark upon the extremely dangerous endeavor of doing production, or doing demos in production. So to start, I'm just going to take us to Before You Fly. This is the Before You Fly iOS application. It is running live on my phone right now. What I've done is just north of us, we have some nice uncontrolled airspace in Pacific Palisades. And if you have Before You Fly and you're interested and you want to follow along, go ahead and follow along. This is live in production. So I've gone ahead and done a notify and fly that I'll be flying in Pacific Palisades this morning. This is in the app. You can see it in your Before You Fly, and all of this is available. And then on top of that, you can see all of the different recreational areas and different advisories that you get. All of this data that you see in Before You Fly is actually available via the API. So the colors, the advisories, the distances, that's all available via API. So we now understand the airspace that we're operating in. We have a drone flight area that's active. Let's go ahead and take a look at the API and how we're going to work with that. So the first thing is, all of our documents are living documents. This is because I am not a very good programmer myself. So what we've done is we've tried to make it easy for people like me to safely and quickly integrate airspace information to their applications. I love nothing more than a copy and paste API. It brings me such joy when I can say, wow, somebody has solved this problem, and I can just drop it right into my application. So all of this stuff will have your key in it. I'll be rolling the keys after this demonstration, because if there's one thing we care about here at Aloft, it is security. So if you see any keys, they will not be valid at the end of this demo. And you can see all of our apps, or all of our docs, are written for people who are trying to implement things quickly and easily. So we've gone ahead and tried to spell out all the abbreviations. We've tried to find good units of measure. And of course, we even have a small primer here on understanding our airspace colors. Blue for controlled, red for no fly zone, yellow means hazards are nearby, and then green is good to go, but obviously still maintain situational awareness. Great, so sign up takes just a couple seconds, and then you go get your token. You get your token, and you're ready to go. So I'm gonna fire up Postman here. For those of you who are not familiar, Postman is an API management tool that allows you to play with different endpoints, see what they return, and you don't have to use this in a programmatic fashion. This is a tool that lets you work with the endpoints before you implement them in your code. Extremely handy. We're big fans here at Aloft. So I put in the body a geometry. All the geometry that we take is standard GeoJSON. You can send us a polygon, you can send us a point, and we'll be happy to take that, validate it, and then send it back to you. This is important because, again, we support open standards. The GeoJSON standard is easy to work with, and there's a number of libraries for any programming language you might want to use, whether it's Go or Rust or PHP, Python or Ruby. GeoJSON is a standard that's supported almost universally, so very exciting. I want to start with our notify and fly example here. And this is important because notify and fly you can put that in via the Before You Fly application or the Before You Fly web application. And that data is no longer just siloed in Before You Fly. We're not interested in keeping situational awareness just to ourselves. We want to make it available for everybody in the community. So now, when you go ahead and request that, you can see that we have a yellow, and I want to correlate this very closely here. We have a yellow advisory, and then we have a caution, so caution here, and then that data is available. So if you wanted to make your own version of before you fly, you could, right? Review active advisories for compliant operation. And then right here, we have a drone flight area. So this is available to you. It's an active flight area. It's a commercial. We even add IDs to it, and as well as the distance you are from it. So all this is available via the API, and you can bring in all that before you fly data right to your application. I want to go through a couple more that I think are poignant examples just here in Postman. While I'm thinking about it, can everyone see what I'm doing, or is the text way too small? Just pop in the event chat here for a second. If no one says anything, I'm just going to assume it's too small and you've all fallen asleep. Okay, everyone's asleep. Awesome. So this is a spot just near KSFO, San Francisco. So we're able to get the information about what airspace we're operating in, what airport that's tied to, as well as all of the UAS facility map data. So this return here shows us that we can fly to 400 feet. That's the max auto approval height. It is eligible for further coordination, and LANCE is enabled. With this, we also get a lot of information about SFO, but this is really handy, and I point this out specifically because if you're planning flights at large scale, and you want to know, is that flight going to need a LANCE authorization in advance? The API will let you do that quickly and easily. You'll even be able to garner the maximum height you can fly to, or if the height is, you need more height than is available, whether or not you can get further coordination. All of this is available, and this is ready to scale. If you want to hit this API hard, you certainly can, even though I can hear my engineering team shaking their fists at me saying, what are you doing? What are you saying that for? But all this is available here and ready to go. And then it's not just controlled airspace. It's not just notify and fly. And part of the joy of this API is that we've abstracted away a lot of work that is, it's tedious, difficult work. The different classes of airspace and the different stadiums and class airspace and the different data sources all require different update periods, and that's a huge overhead. One's 28 days, one's 53 days, one's every 5 minutes or 3 minutes. Being able to have all of this abstracted away from you and not have to worry about the infrastructure, inner workings of managing airspace is a big advantage to a young company. I know that when we were starting out, airspace was a problem for us. We wanted good visibility into this, but we just couldn't find a solution that was going to let us have that information programmatically and allow us to innovate while not worrying about airspace. So this is a great one here. This is the freeze, the flight restriction zone in Washington, D.C. So this latitude and longitude's in D.C. And then you can see here, we have the freeze. It's a red. It is a DC no drone zone. We include links to additional information so that if you do happen to get a weird advisory, you can further give your users more information to follow up to understand more about what they're doing. And then, you know, more information about what the actual thing is. So this is a DC Metro area, special flight rules area. It's the CIFRA. And then as well as the class Bravo. All of this information is available to you, and each one of these comes with a ton of different things. So this is the TFR that surrounds this. Aloft updates TFRs constantly from their official data sources and then turns them into beautiful, easy to consume JSON. The TFRs include the full text, but also links to the official FAA.gov. So if you're doing a pre-flight briefing in your application, in your drone delivery, ground station, if you're looking to make sure that you have access to the official data sources in a clean and compliant fashion, this is a great way to get a list of, hey, these are the TFRs that are affecting you. Go and brief yourself on the official .gov website so you can check this off your risk assessment. All of this is available programmatically, and it's ready to be displayed in your application. And each one of these is updated. So every time you hit that endpoint, you're getting the latest information, as well as when they're applicable. So we'll even do information about When does it start? When does it end? So if you wanted to show future TFRs or TFRs that are currently active only, you can do all of that. Excellent. Well, I know this is all fascinating to sit and look at encoded JSON and obscure API management programs that are named after the Postal Service, but I think we should do something a little more fun and a little bit more interesting. You don't have to be a computer hacker to use the Aloft API. In fact, it's just as useful for the plug-and-play person as it is for the advanced computer programmer. I want to show you guys something we made. Again, this is available in our blog post that accompanies this webinar. You'll get a link to it after the webinar in your email. But we took Google Sheets and we programmed a Google Sheets solution so that if you have a spreadsheet of locations and latitudes and longitudes, you can just get the airspace information right inside of your Google Sheets. So I'm going to demonstrate that now. This is a Google Sheet that you can actually clone into your Google Sheets account. All the hard work is done for you. All you have to do is put in your API key from the Aloft API. The instructions are included in the spreadsheet. If you have questions, feel free to drop me an email or a phone call. It's josh@aloft.ai. And this is a list of model airplane fields from our good friends at the Academy of Model Aeronautics. And these are the latitudes and longitudes associated with them. So inside of this Google Sheet, we have made a friendly little function. So just like you can use the sum function or the average function, this is a function that reaches out to the Aloft API and the Before You Fly API and will actually give you the class airspace that you're in. And you could get crazy with this. If you wanted to include all of the different advisories in the response, you could actually put that into your spreadsheet quickly and easily. In addition, we've also made a fun little function that will bring you a link to the Before You Fly web interface, such that if you get a weird airspace here, a red or a blue, and you're like, whoa, what's that about? You can actually follow up with further information on the Before You Fly official website. So you can see here, I've put in a formula. The formula's name is airspace, and then the latitude and longitude. So equals airspace, alpha 2, bravo 2. And if we want to do a whole list of these, and this is where the magic of the API comes in, we can just go ahead, drag this down. We'll do 13 of them here. And it's going to go to the Aloft API. Bang, there it is. So every airspace for each one of these latitudes and longitudes. And then we can do the same for Before You Fly. So you'll see here, I've made the function Before You Fly. I've given it alpha 2, bravo 2, which correlates to latitude and longitude. I'll go ahead here. I'll go do all 13 of these. Oops, no more than 13. Great, sweet. There's all the information we need. So the API doesn't have to be this big programming nightmare that you might think it needs to be. This is something you can use in your organization even if you don't program. We've decided to give away the source code to the functions for free. You can find them in the blog post that I mentioned prior. Let's do a little bit of digging on why this is a red location here. We'll go ahead. We'll open up the Before You Fly official interface here. Whoa, lots of stuff happening here. So we have a DoD NSUFR in Hawaii. In addition, we have UAS facility maps. Like I mentioned before, we'll even tell you if Lance is available or not, as well as it looks like a Class Delta airport. So all of this is available, powered by the API, and ready to go for you at a moment's notice. No fancy programming required. If you are in the mood for fancy programming, though, let's do a quick time check here. Feel free to bring it on into the command line. There is, because it's returning JSON, the JavaScript object notation, you can use this virtually anywhere there's good support for this kind of file format. On the command line, you even have the option to use something called JQ. It's a fun little utility that allows you to parse JSON and use it just like you would your favorite Unix command line tool. So with this, you can actually take the Aloft API, you can go to the docs, you can use the very standard curl example that we have ready to go here. And I already have it plugged in, so we'll go ahead, we'll hit this, we'll hit enter, And there it is. We could parse this for any of the information that we got in the spreadsheet, any of the information that we got in Postman, or any of the information that's available in Before You Fly. Again, this is just the first of a plethora of endpoints to both consume and publish data to the Aloft API and Before You Fly. We've outlined every single one of the things that you can get back in great detail, including references to the regulations that are applicable here. So stadiums obviously have an implied TFR. You can add in the information that you need here. 14 CFR, section 9 or 9 or 7. We have all that for you here. So it's not just a dumb API that, okay, great, I understand I'm near a stadium. This is going to help you understand the larger context. And more importantly, your users and consumers understand the larger context of what they're getting and the information that they need to act safely and capably in the national airspace. So all of this is available. It's in production today. We're working on a number of new endpoints, both for being able to push data into Before You Fly. For example, if you're a local stakeholder, a city, and you have no operation zones, we did something like this with San Francisco, where you cannot operate a drone in one of their parks. Well, San Francisco's digital initiative has digitized the geography of all their parks. We went ahead and put that in Before You Fly, so that somebody who was flying their drone on a Friday night didn't have to have an uncomfortable conversation with a park ranger about why they were flying a drone in San Francisco in a park on Friday night. Didn't have anything to do with me, I promise. And so all of that data can go into Before You Fly, and you'll immediately have access to the largest audience of drone stakeholders in the world. So I think this is probably a good spot to stop. You can go ahead and sign up. The billing, let's talk about how much it costs, because that's my favorite thing. So no, it is not $19.99. It is not $21.99. It is a penny per call. And we're super excited about this. This is what we think to be an affordable price point that lets us have enough resources to manage this infrastructure, but allows people to start, integrate, and feel comfortable integrating with us, knowing that this is the price they're going to be able to afford as they scale and move into larger and larger uses of the API. We've got exciting things coming for weather. We've got exciting things coming for Notify and Fly, and working on some awesome stuff for drone delivery as well. The idea is we want to take a book out of the cloud computing playbook. We want to understand that, look, when you start, you need to be able to scale. And that's really what cloud computing has enabled a whole generation of startups to do, is to scale efficiently. So we'll start small, and the bill will be small. And if you scale, we want to be a very, very happy piece of your monthly infrastructure bill, and one that you're happy to pay because you're getting so much value from it. I know that there's API bills that we pay every month where I'm like, nice, this is good. We don't have to deal with this now, and makes me very happy. So with that, I want to thank you all for coming. I understand we might have some questions. I know APIs is not the most interesting topic in the world, so thank you for bearing with me. And again, we're thrilled to be able to offer this, and we're excited to help people implement it. So if you're looking for help implementing this, you want a little advice on how you might integrate this into your drone delivery solution, or your hardware solution, your OEM solution, your ground station solution, we're here to help, and I love solving problems. It's a great passion of mine. So I'd be happy to take a look. And most importantly, we're not interested in being in any of those businesses. We don't want to make drone hardware. We're not interested in doing drone delivery. We want to support people in the ecosystem, and having a provider that abstracts away something complex that you know is also not competing with you on what you're doing, we think is very fundamentally important to the ecosystem. So thank you all for listening. I will take some questions now. Erica, would you like to join me on this nerdy virtual stage here?
Awesome.
Or not.
Nope, I'm here. Sorry. So we have a question from S. Gibson. What are the top 3 use cases for the API?
Yeah, I think it would be actually, I think it would be arrogant of me to say the top 3 use cases. So just in this webinar alone, we've taken a no-code approach to the API, and we've put it in a spreadsheet. We have command line access to it and programmatic access to it. So we don't need to We don't need to couch it, but if you're running a drone delivery operation, having real-time airspace data available programmatically on a second-by-second basis, very useful. If you want to broadcast your intentions with Notify and Fly, for example, if you're a major utility and you want people to be able to look in the official FAA Before You Fly app and see your operations happening under a Notify and Fly, that's totally possible as well. There's a number of different applications, but the most important one is if you're looking for access to data, we have that. If you're looking for access to the largest audience of drone stakeholders in the world that want to use the FAA's Free Before You Fly app to understand the greater operating picture, whether they're a civilian who's just watching a drone fly or somebody who's going to be operating in their neighborhood, this is the answer. So lots of different applications. And the most fun thing about an API is watching people build for use cases that you didn't expect. So I'm personally super excited to see what everybody builds with the Aloft API.
Yeah. Now we have a question from Colin Caffrey. First, what is the high-level industry outcome that Aloft hopes to see by making this data open source?
Okay, so the data is open source to start with. It is provided. So we have to be careful about the definition of open source there. But the high-level industry goal here is that data partnership should happen freely. Understanding that people have different use cases and different demands on the data they need is going to let them stop focusing on the data. One of the great, I think, missteps of the drone industry early on in the last, call it 5 years ago, everybody was building the same things at the same time in different ways. That typically does not garner many network effects. So by specializing and understanding that I want to build the very best one of these, and if I remember correctly, Mr. Caffrey, you're building something very cool for the athletics. It's, again, super important that you want to focus on that market and understand that market. If you're working on something for athleticism, maybe becoming an airspace update and scaling expert is out of your purview. We really want to help this, just take the brakes off and accelerate the industry by letting people integrate data safely and compliantly that will help them operate more easily in the national airspace. So yeah, the high-level industry output here is that we want data interchange between lots of different stakeholders, and we want to make sure that it's easy to facilitate amongst a large group of people with a large audience. So yeah, that's how we see it. And again, open, secure, and available. That's really what we see as the most important things for this. Thanks for the question.
Yeah, we have another question from William and Marie Thomas. Would the API be useful for individual drone operators?
Well, far be it for me to tell you whether or not it would be useful for individual drone operators, but if you like understanding large data sets, this could be for you. I know that I'm working on something right now with a large geo project that we're going to visualize. Pretty exciting stuff, but I'm using the API for that myself. But unless you are super nerdy about this stuff, I would say the Before You Fly web application or the free iOS and Android Before You Fly apps are a great tool for the individual drone operator. Unless, for example, you have a list of the top 500 places to fly in the United States, and you want to go down that list and understand the airspace of every one of them so you can get authorizations in advance of you showing up. Other than that, I think that the individual drone operator is really well served by the Before You Fly platform.
Great, thank you. We have a few
Thank you for the question.
Yeah. We have a few questions from Tim Brennan. The first is, who are your target customers for this service?
Yeah, hey, Mr. Brennan, shout out to our friends at Wing and the FAA. Lots of cool folks here today. Awesome. So the target customer, again, that's like saying, what's the target use case? The joy of an API is watching it be used for things you didn't expect. But certainly we look at cities and states, municipalities, departments of transportation, drone delivery, large scale inspections, right? If you have to inspect 200 locations across this country a day, and you are in charge of finding all of that airspace and whether or not those operators are going to need lances and getting them those lances, that's a really tough undertaking. So lots of different use cases. The most important thing is the API is easy to use, easy to integrate, and cheap to consume. That's going to enable a whole different set of use cases than if it were expensive, hard to integrate, and difficult to work with. So we want to make sure that we're enabling as many use cases as possible. Great question. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and a follow-up question on that is, how did you land on the pay-as-you-go model for pricing?
Oh, yeah, like I mentioned before, understanding that the drone industry is still nascent. And if for example, right, we've talked to some folks in urban air mobility and advanced air mobility, and by and large, the advanced air mobility and urban air mobility folks don't have tens of thousands of aircraft in their fleets. They have 5 aircraft or 10 aircraft. It doesn't make sense to be so aggressive with a licensing or with a integration deal that it's prohibitive from using the data and integrating the software. What we really want to do is help customers find the information they need, and then we want to watch them grow as we grow with them. We find that the best way, one of the ways that we've built Aloft, is the best way to do that is to work with customers as they grow. And unfortunately, I'm being kicked out of the room here. So I think we're going to call it quits for this webinar. And thank everybody for coming. And we'll see you next time. If you have questions, my name, Joshua Ziering. I'm on LinkedIn, and my email is josh@aloft.ai. Thanks, Erica.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.